We're back on the XM52 podcast, Instant Analysis, Sunday, October 27th, 7:50 p.m. My name is Jake Louque. I'm joined by Brian. I'm joined by Spenny. We are brought to you, as always, by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Always here to discuss the Ravens losing to the Browns in Cleveland, 29-24. An ugly loss, a maddening loss. I kept coming back to the word stupid. Just a stupid loss. It just feels like the Ravens, like you got to just chalk at least one or two of these up a year. And now it's a little concerning that they already have two in my book now that you got that Raiders loss there and this one on the ticket. But it reminded me a lot, guys, of that loss in Pittsburgh. Spenny, you were saying almost a year ago to the day when they went up to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. They let the ball go through their hands a million times. They did a bunch of other dumb shit, and they walked out of there losers and probably feeling pretty stupid. And I think that's probably how they feel after this game. A lot of discourse on the X app about Zach Orr, about execution issues with the players, about, interceptions being dropped. And ultimately that is going to be the defining image of this game for me, is a ball just going right into Kyle Hamilton's breadbasket. Jameis couldn't have walked it over and handed it to him any easier. He had it secured for about a second, let it slip through somehow. I mean, it was an inexplicably bad drop. And then next play, Jameis 38-yard bomb over the head of Eddie Jackson, who had a tough game, to say the least, in relief of Marcus Williams, who ostensibly was benched, was not getting practice reps this week from what we're hearing. And, yeah, taken out of the lineup in the favor of Jackson, who dropped another couple interceptions of his own. Just an infuriating game from this defense. It's hard to really put any kind of silver linings on this one. Brian, how you feeling about the annual stupid loss? Well,
that's tradition. I mean, you made a lot of great points there, and what I'm finding to be the problem right now is that you're comparing this to the Pittsburgh loss. The first loss that came to my mind was the Indianapolis loss. We already did that this year.
Sure.
So we're stockpiling these losses that are completely head scratching because we just don't do tons of simple things, which is like today was catch the football. But we've made a habit of failing to do so many simple things throughout the year. Like this roster is capable of 6-2, 7-1 at this point, and they haven't played to that quality, so that's why they're not those things. But it's so infuriating that they're just week in and week out making some of these games closer and paying the price a couple times over on games that they clearly should have won, both on paper and in the way that the game shook out. Like I wrote it on my post-game blog there. This is one of those games, much like that Indianapolis game last year, where there's like half a dozen things where if they just do any one or maybe two of those things combined that are very simplistic that everybody should be able to do, that we're just not talking about this result. And if we do 4 or 5 out of 6, like most teams do, then we're running by 2 touchdowns or 2 scores, and it's not much of a game. So, it's the NFL. The Browns, I thought, brought everything they had. They brought a lot of intensity. I thought the home crowd was behind them. They got the Jameis bump. He played good-ish. Made some mistakes we didn't make him pay for, and that's kind of the point. But all things considered, the fact that this seems to be a habit is the problem. Because in order to win a championship, and this team is very capable of doing it, especially with the hole we're now in, we're going to have to win 4 straight. And when you make a habit of playing this way, you're going to slip up in one of those 4 games. Probably one of those 2 games when you're playing better teams than the Browns and the Raiders. So I don't know what needs to happen. I thought that we were trending in the right direction on this type of thing, and we're clearly not. So it's just the simple plays and the defense. We've known it's a problem. I was content with the idea that the offense was just that much greater an asset than the defense was a liability. And I think that they're relatively content with that notion too. But to not do the simple things just wipes away the margin of error that I've come on here, I feel like every week and talked about. So just a really frustrating loss that we could have just done a couple things and we could be having a different conversation of like, whew, that was a close one. We got to clean these things up versus, wow, we're 5-3, like had a real opportunity to separate ourselves from Cincinnati, another game, and the Steelers are likely to roll the Giants here tonight. Like, it's just not where we should be. Period.
Yeah, I think I think you make the good point there about the little things, right? That's something that I harped on a lot after that Chiefs loss, where the Chiefs just do the little things right, and over and over and over. I think somebody in the comments is saying that too. They are now still undefeated. They're kind of just marching things along, and they're still not even looking perfect. But they're managing things fairly well, and their record absolutely reflects that. I think a lot of these issues, it's a sign of a young team. It's a sign of an inexperienced team. It's a sign of a team that has had a lot of transition and change. And all those things were things that concerned me heading into the season. I think, for the record, I think they managed it pretty well. I mean, like, I think they've looked better than I thought they would look up to this point through the year. But you're going to be ripe for a game like this when you're dealing with these kinds of things. When you've got an offensive line that's either young or not good enough, inexperienced, whatever it is. Same thing on the defensive side of the ball. And Spenny, I'll throw it over to you. You've been kind of in the trenches here after this one. I saw that you were maybe imbibing a little bit today. I'm sure you've got some takes to fire off. So let's hear it.
The Ravens lost the same game to the Browns last year. Also, they lost to the Raiders this year. They lost to the Colts last year. They lost to the Steelers last year. And the quarterbacks, I saw a tweet, I think maybe Jonas Schaefer, the quarterbacks that have beat the Ravens, it's Mahomes twice, Gardner Minshew twice, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Deshaun Watson, and Jameis Winston. What's this? Oh, is that a little rat poison? Is that a little rat poison? Is that a little Tomcat rat poison? Oh, Brian, you have to win 4 straight games because you dug yourself into a hole, right? You couldn't take your foot off the gas for 1 minute because you dug a hole. And the second you could, you did. The second you took your eye off the prize, and I'm going to say literally the football, took your eye off the football, Nelson Aguilar, took your eye off the football. I think Rashad Bateman, he's my sweet baby boy, so I'm going to defend him and say it was the son, but dropped.
Shout out to Nate McLeod back in the day.
Had a really bad drop. Bateman did have a bad drop. It was late, but Lamar got to him late, but he definitely picked his eyes up, tried to go get a first down, dropped the football. Maybe would have been able to go for it on 4th down. So that drop to me was worse than the one that looked like it was in the sun. Kyle Hamilton, game winner. Eddie Jackson, what the fuck? Eddie Jackson's always been able to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Since Bama, he's always been able to catch a football. Always been able to catch a football. So to me, little Tomcat rat poison. It's a little delicious treat here. Oh, Derrick Henry. So good. Offensive player of the week. Ooh, Lamar, MVP 3rd time. Ooh, we beat the big bad Bucks. We beat the big bad Bengals. They fucking carried that back to the castle. They lost their focus. They get some dumb bullshit going on with Marcus Williams. We can get into that entire thing. I know people are very interested about that in the comments. We will get to it here shortly. To me, this is what has happened. The Ravens lost Denard Wilson, Mike McDonald, Anthony Weaver. That is 3 experienced coaches. Denard Wilson wasn't with the Ravens a ton. I think, 2 years? Maybe 2 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Clowney, there's 800 snaps. Queen, 1,000 snaps. That's 1,800 snaps. They lose Geno Stone, probably another 800,000 snaps. That's near 2,000 snaps. Ronald Darby played 500 snaps. You've lost 3 coaches. You've lost 2,000 plus snaps defensively. I think I might have embellished earlier this year and said 4,000. I don't know. Someone fact check me there. Go on PFF and do the little tallies. I'll do it later. But we saw them then bring in Dean Pease because I will give them the grace and say they did lose their offensive line coach as well, unfortunately. So that was an issue that popped up. And they, I think, had a very short amount of time to try to replace a lot of experienced coaches. I think they failed at doing that. I think they recognized that they failed at doing that. So they brought in Dean Pease. Now, on top of that, injuries were a factor today. Is there consistent defensive issues? Yes. Is there context for each individual game? Yes. Was what happened today what happened against the Bucs last week? No. Marlon Humphrey wasn't there. He's been their best defensive player. He's been their best coverage defender. He probably makes 1 or 2 plays for you today, huh? You think Marlon Humphrey probably makes 1 or 2 more plays than the Ravens defense made? Jake, Brian, maybe 1 or 2.
And yeah, we talked about, like, if you're going to be this type of defense and if you're going to do the bend but don't break, but also sometimes break, you got to get your hands on the football. You got to make the splash plays. And who was the guy that was doing that for you this season? Marlon Humphrey leading the team with 4 picks, turning games around, on their head. He did that last week against the Bucs. They, I don't know if they win that game without his performance. Yeah, all of a sudden you don't have him in the lineup and things aren't looking very good. So for me, this game, it's a total reality check. I'm not throwing any dirt on the grave here. I think this is still a team that can do some things. I didn't pick them to be a Super Bowl type team this year. I think I had them leaving the divisional round, maybe a wild card win. So yeah, I mean, this is all kind of indicative of that, but I also don't want to just fully absolve them because of, exceeding my expectations a little bit. It's a reality check, right? Like this defense, a lot of issues to iron out. Spenny, you mentioned the context. I think it is very important to mention that Brent Urban goes out early in this game. Michael Pierce goes out not too long after. They just didn't have D linemen. Travis Jones has been on the injury report. So yeah, man, not a whole lot of rush up front. Jameis was
no one wants to hear that though. No one ever wants to hear that. No one ever wants to hear it. And I will say it is a high injury sport. But then when you remove those two guys, those are two of the three guys, including Travis Jones, that you want to eat combo blocks. So when you only have one guy that can eat combo blocks, who's had a bum ankle the last couple of weeks and doesn't look like himself, you can't call defense the same. Your personnel decisions are now limited, in addition to being limited by the cornerbacks who are missing. So then you limit the amount of plays that you can run. So it's there's context, all of those things. Sorry to cut you off there, but it's a snowball effect that happened with injuries, and people are mad because they want to see winning defense and they haven't seen it. And I think rightfully so. You want to see the Ravens have a good defensive performance. So you're frustrated as a fan that you haven't seen that.
Yeah, there's just, I would just say that like, there's plenty of blame to go around. I mean, I'm sure Zach Orr has got to get his shit together here. It's just really like, it's the hyperbolic, like fire him right away. And maybe I'm just pushing back against that because I know they're not going to do that. Like they're not going to fire this guy mid-season after making an investment in him really to be their defensive coordinator of the future and maybe a future head coach of this team. I don't, it seems like that would be the plan. Not looking so good right now. So he's got a lot to work on. The players have a lot to work on as well. It starts with getting your fucking hands on the ball. First things first, that would have won the game if you could have. You've got David Ojabo as a healthy scratch today. You couldn't get after the quarterback at all. You've got this Marcus Williams thing going on, which I guess we can get into. Apparently he just wasn't taking practice reps all week. I don't know exactly.
We know Wednesday he did not take a snap in practice.
Yeah, exactly. People are asking like what's going on with him, and it's just like they just straight up benched him, and that was the plan. I think Eddie Jackson said that he was told maybe yesterday that he was going to be the starter. So yeah, they made a gamble on that. People are saying that he like said something to a reporter. If he did, I must have missed that. I didn't see anything super controversial from him. So maybe it was that, because Harbaugh did say we're handling something internally with him after the game. Another clip that I didn't listen to and don't have the context for, so apologies. But yeah, he said we're handling something internally. It sounds like he was just straight up benched, and you could make the case that he said something, but also his play this season probably kind of warrants it a little bit. But now you see
we can only speculate. We don't know the answer. He could have skipped a meeting. He could have skipped a practice. He could have, showed up late 4 times in a row. He also could have said something. We don't know what he did, so we can only speculate until we find out the answer. Probably.
And either way, his play, you could very easily make a case that he deserved it. But the flip side of that is now you've got Eddie Jackson out there, who you've made the point is just not a deep half safety at all. He got lost a couple of times, including on that game-winning touchdown, dropping all those interceptions. You're just not talented enough as far as a deep half safety to pair with Hamilton at this point. And whether that's fixed through trade or you just bring somebody in off the street, I don't know. But that's a glaring talent issue on this defense. We can talk about scheme and all that, but there are certainly some glaring talent holes. I think about pass rush. I think about that deep half safety.
We just did this. We just did this 2 years ago with Mike McDonald, by the way. We just did this 2 years ago. And Wink Martindale's Giants defense was outstanding in New York at that time. At this time 2 years ago, Wink's defense was cooking with gas. Mike McDonald couldn't keep a fourth quarter lead. We just went through this entire thing.
Yeah, sure. And he's not working with the same cupboard that McDonald was working with last year. You don't have a Clowney anymore. You lose a couple of guys. It's just they're in transition right now, like I said. But yeah, results aren't there. I totally get why people are pissed. I am too.
There's a good comment here. I wanted to ask you, Brian. There's a comment very early on. Kelly McCoy, the kind of pre-deadline loss that Eric DaCosta probably needed to see, right? We've seen them go get Roquan Smith, Marcus Peters, Yannick Ngakoue on playoff teams 3 times. And yeah, they've got a little bit of time here. It is the 27th, Sunday, October 27th, as we record the trade deadline, November 5th. Brian, anything else going on November 5th at all? Have you heard of?
I don't think so.
Nothing that I've heard of. No, but
so what do you? My question to you, Brian. What are you looking at? What are you sniffing around the trade deadline?
Man, I just don't know. this, you could look at it as a positive that I think any given level, or at least the defensive line, the pass rush could use some help, and also the secondary. So you've got a lot of options. You're not pigeonholing yourself into going after one position or what have you. But man, it's just I like nothing seems to be going right on the defensive side of the ball. I guess the numbers are there in terms of stopping the run across the body of work for the year. And that was a little bit of a challenge today, but Nick Chubb is one of the best backs in the game. But I just don't know how to teach guys to just catch the goddamn football. Like even if you're looking at compiling stats, like drives should have been cut shorter by virtue of them ending with takeaways.
A ball hit Eddie Jackson in the hands in the end zone early in the game. The Browns kick a field goal after. That's 3 points. Kyle Hamilton drops a football in the fourth quarter at the end of the game that they end up allowing a touchdown after. That's 7 points. There's 10 points from 2 dropped interceptions. You know, the butterfly effect on the first one, but continue, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Jackson dropped another one. It was a jump ball that he had the good positioning for, and he dropped that too. It's just
and say what you want about momentum. I mean, snagging one of them fucking helps and maybe gets Jameis to even break down a little further, right? Oh, we did it.
Look how impactful the strip sack was.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, totally changed the complexion of at least the halftime vibes.
And he had one in the end zone too, go right through his hands. That would have been the same thing that Marlon did. They're driving down on you. I think they wound up stopping them and they kicked a field goal anyway, but you take 3 points off the board, all of a sudden you're kicking for the win at the end of the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I do feel that Zach Orr, he's picking his spots, and some of that is concocted so that, you know, every so often you get those opportunities to make those takeaways, and it just hasn't happened. And contextually towards the end, I think a lot of people are blasting Zach Orr for blitzing like so relentlessly or whatever on that last drive. Like the touchdown after the drop pick was probably the best thing that could have happened.
It really was.
Considered. Send the house, force the issue. We had time on the clock and we had a shot at the end because of that. But I don't know. It just seems like every single drive we're just getting whipped.
You guys know Eddie Jackson's PFF grading coverage this week? Or no, that I mean they don't have it up yet. My apologies. It was 38.2 last week for some information. That's your starting safety, replacing the one-arm man in there.
The other factor is that you don't have so I'm going to be very critical of the move to bench Marcus Williams. You don't have Marlon Humphrey. You don't have Nate Wiggins. You then move Ardarius Washington out of his spot, and now you have Eddie Jackson not next to who he's used to when your 2 corners are already down. Why the fuck are you doing that this week? Why are you doing that this game? You're not telling Eddie Jackson until the day before? Because to me, I will say it does sound like they decided Wednesday, we're benching Marcus Williams for whatever hypothetical scenario he did. Marcus Williams said, didn't say, showed up to, whatever we can get into. So why are you doing that when your secondary is in flux? Why are you adding to the confusion? If you want to make your point, like, you benched him in practice, see if he can respond or something. You can still do it later. If that's your big thing, let's say, and again, I am going into a hypothetical scenario based on making an ass out of the 3 of us, assuming Marcus Williams did or said something or did not do something he was supposed to. So they bench him. So you make your statement. You're going to go play him again later. You could have done that next week. You still could have saved that bullet in the chamber. Him just playing in this game could have been the case. So maybe he did something that was so egregious, but often these things are ego, right? Often it's ego. I don't know if it was Harbaugh. I don't know if it was Orr. I don't know if it was Hewitt. I don't know if it was the custodian at the castle. I don't know if Marcus Williams did or did not do something he was or was not supposed to do. But why did you do that this week? Why is he even active if you're not going to play him 1 snap?
Yeah.
Why did you take a warm body out? Even just in the smallest little sense, why did you take a warm body out that could have played? Why did you take a Jabo out? Why did you take someone else out? If you truly weren't going to play him 1 snap, why not put someone else in that can play special teams or come in due to injury, which there was a lot of in this AFC North game?
Bill Belichick's got an ego, and think Malcolm Butler might have some thoughts on benching a guy before a big game and it coming back to bite you in the ass because of it. I don't know what Malcolm Butler did before that game. I don't know what Marcus Williams did this week, but
to Spenny's point, it seems arrogant to think that you can just bench him within the context and think you can get away with it, right? But that's part of your point too, is things were going sideways and they like Winston was consistently moving the ball against us. At a certain point, why is he not able to be inserted?
The point was made. The point's made.
Yeah.
You're bench, buddy. Yeah. But all right, get in there.
Like, hey, Jameis got benched for a half, didn't he?
Well, he tried to. Yeah, Marcus Williams should have just gone in. Maybe they wouldn't have seen.
Actually, yeah, that would have been a sick idea. With the
takeaway is Marcus Williams should have just gone on the field anyway.
The game day awareness these guys sometimes have, it wouldn't shock me if he could slip right under their noses, get in there, and do something. I don't know what he would have done necessarily. I don't know if it would have been good, but it would have been better than what we saw. You'd have to think.
In the grand scheme of things, like we're acting like they just got knocked out of the playoffs. They lost to the fucking Browns. They lost to the fucking Browns in the same game last year. It was a physical game. The Browns had their number. Deshaun Watson goes on his miracle tirade at the end of the game. Jameis Winston hits a long one. To your point, Brian, I did like this is the thing about them sending the Engage 8, the all-out fire blitz at the end of games. They tell everyone they're going to do it. They say it to the fucking press for 3 years now. They're like, yeah, we're going to do that because then we get the ball back.
Those guys are all
forthright with that one for my liking. But I still agree, that's the Tomlin thing. They're going to burn the house down. It's not a surprise anymore. It would have been a surprise if they dropped 8 into coverage. That would have been a surprise.
Yeah. And I mean, goddamn, man. I mean, who knows with the way that Winston was he had clean pockets all day. He was making nice throws. He looked as good as he's looked in a long time to me. And I know he hasn't played a ton, but I don't know. Like, he definitely played with reckless abandon. He had a ton of dropped interceptions, but he was just giving that offense and that team a whole new element. It is absurd that this guy was not playing over Deshaun Watson. It is malpractice, and Jimmy Haslam should be tried at The Hague. Going all the way back to this acquisition with Watson and now how he's handled it this season. This team could be in the playoff mix right now, and instead they're 2-6 because of this horse shit. It's ridiculous.
Easily could. And everyone's like, for those few little people, I'm doing the Eric Strawman here, but I have seen it. Cedric Tillman is a dog. We've been waiting on him. We've been the whole Twitter community has been waiting on Cedric Tillman to get some targets, and he's a dog.
All those guys. Judy had a nice game. Tillman, I mean, like Njoku, obviously.
Brandon Stevens did get torched on an inbreaker by Judy on that crosser, I believe, in the third quarter. Stevens had outside leverage. I don't know. He got caught looking or something, and Judy left him for dead on a big crosser. Stevens ended up tripping him up. That could have been a touchdown. I think Brandon Stevens has got a lot of unnecessary shit this year. That was a bad rep. That was a bad rep.
Yeah, he got posterized too, I think, by Njoku, or maybe that was Jackson.
That was Eddie Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, of course it was. Taylor does or disguise anything. Seriously, they do what they show look like a fucking college team.
They did on the Hamilton. The Hamilton force fumble was one of the most beautiful sim pressures I've ever seen in my entire life.
I was going to say that, and that's the exact play I was going to point to. Like that's a game-changing play right there before the half. You go and score a touchdown with Nelly. You're feeling pretty good. I don't know, like maybe try a little bit more of that kind of shit. You could certainly speak to more of that schematically than I could, Spenny, but
I would agree with this comment from Easy E here in the comments. I think they disguise too much. I think it is too complex. Zach Orr said this week, teams are breaking the huddle quick, going no huddle, fucking flying up to the line of scrimmage and snapping the ball. And we see the Ravens frantically hand motioning. Oh, got to stop. Calm it down. You can't do that shit that much when you have all these new DBs in. Mullet just came back. Like we talked about all the other DBs that have moved around.
Hamilton said before the game, we're not going to do any palms up plays. Like, we can't do that anymore. Can't do any more of this after a big play and like looking around at people. And that, again, that was a thing that was going on with McDonald early in his tenure. And it just feels
Hamilton like dropping that ball for what he is and has been and was in this game is football fixed. That was my immediate brain rot that jumped in.
You've been quietly kind of really getting seriously onto that.
The tough part too is that he dropped it twice. Like he had.
That's what I said when it happened. I was like, he caught it 3 times.
Here. I'll throw something at you. Remember JT shaking the ball? Something's wrong with the ball here. Something's up with the balls, maybe.
We got to get DeQuell Jackson on the case, and then
I'm
maybe
all the way in on that one,
yeah,
Brian.
get DeQuell Jackson
All the way in on that one.
Yeah, maybe
going
check
on with these balls.
the PSI level. We'll get Ted Wells in there, investigate things a little bit.
A lot of questions in the chat, like what's going on here. We broke it down on. Go watch the preview to this game. We broke it down. We looked at the tape. Jake, you and I broke it down. There's an example where there was 2 plays. The Bucs did the same thing twice. They got the same response twice, and it is, in my opinion, it is so elementary that the players should be able to figure it out without their coach at this level. Like, it involves Roquan Smith sometimes. I think it is such a basic thing that happens. I can't understand or fathom how the players can't figure it out on the field. That's what doesn't make sense to me. So are we going to overreact to this game a little bit? The drops win the game. We feel a little better. We come on here and say, hey, the defense still had some issues, but, Lamar Jackson saved the day. Kyle Hamilton saved the day, whatever. I do think no one wants to hear this. Everyone hates it. I am generally an optimistic person. I try to be, at least. This is a good thing. I think this is a good thing. I think it was a good thing last year when this type of shit happened. I do. I genuinely do.
Reality.
That's the whole Nick Saban rat
Reality
poison thing. You learn more from a loss. No one's going to be harder on themselves after a loss than the players. They're going to feel like shit way more than we do, way more than anyone else does. And they can pretend they'll make the comments like, oh, I don't care once it's my 9 to 5, whatever. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They get fucking pissed about it. So
the lion's share of them do anyway. There probably are some guys that are like that, but most of them are here because they love football and they want to win. And you made the point before the season that really this is Roquan Smith's defense as much as anyone's, as much as losing McDonald hurts. Like, it's on Row. Like, let's get a players only meeting together, Uncle Row. Let's
That's probably why the Ravens weren't as incredibly concerned about the brain drain, because they have one of the smartest defensive players in the NFL. And yeah, they've been stupid defensively. They've done dumb shit defensively. They can't sort bunches out. They let guys who have, like Brandon Stevens there, you have outside leverage, your hips are already turned, so be ready to run. It's just little tiny details It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts of little tiny details. So ultimately, is it a reflection of coaching? Yes, but they're professionals too. It's just, I don't know. It's just nuts. Just nutty. The way they lose, instead of getting imagine if the Browns won by 30 today and people turned the TV off at halftime. There would still be the fire this person, fire that person shit. It just never happens that way. It just drags your sanity out of your mind and plucks it out one hair at a time until you work yourself into a little frenzy as a fan. So if you feel that way, not here to poo-poo on you, fan how you want to fan. You have every right to feel crazy, but it's just
and I mean, listen, they should have caught that and they should have won this game. They probably should not have beaten the Bengals. Right? You get wins in that way, you get losses in that way sometimes. It's kind of the way the cookie crumbles a little bit. So I feel like water found its level. There will be water if God wills it. Ka is a wheel. And here they are at 5-3. Offensively, how do we feel today? I feel like the offensive line maybe got exposed a little bit, but Lamar Jackson managed it very well. I thought he managed the pocket well. He connected on some really nice throws. He missed Zay Flowers actually early in this one. On a play that was actually reminiscent of the Kansas City touchdown in the AFC Championship, where scooting around, making something happen. Zay did a triple move on Ward, and somebody said it was a Hunter Renfrow ass route on Twitter. I forget who that was, so apologies, but that was funny. Lamar just totally airmailed it. So that was the one play of his that you want to have back, but shit, man, you want to have that Bateman drop back too. Other than that, I thought it was pretty crisp and clean. Henry quietly, another solid game. He did not eclipse 100. They were really keying on him. They were hitting hard. Grant Delpit, what a fucking pest. That guy is so annoying. I hated his celebrations, hated everything about that. Scary sight there with JOK getting stretchered off after Henry laid a shoulder into him. It sounds like he's doing all right, though, at the hospital. But overall, I mean, this wasn't really the Raiders game because the offense showed up to play, man. They did their thing, and right up until the end there, they definitely had a chance in that one. So, yeah, at this point, it just kind of feels like this team goes as the offense goes. And yeah, a lot of people saying it's week 8. Like you kind of just are who you are. And I tend to think that way currently.
Ravens really struggled against man coverage. Next gen stats has Lamar is 6 of 11 for 63 yards. I feel like the Browns had like 5 pass breakups in man coverage. The one to Flowers at the end, towards the end of the game in the end zone. There was one to Flowers early. So the Browns definitely played some baller man coverage, especially Ravens did move the ball well, but the Browns, as you mentioned, Jake, they lost Denzel Ward. They lost Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as well. So We can hum and ho about the Ravens losing guys. I've definitely been the one that's probably doing that more than anyone, but they lost some guys too, and they made a couple plays at the end of the game. It has been a tough scene for Denzel Ward, who's had a lot of those. So Jeremiah Wusu-Kormo, I'm glad he's okay. Hopefully swelling is not too crazy in his spine, because in that neck injury, when the swelling gets bad, it can cause like a second onset of injury. So hopefully he's okay through the night. Denzel Ward's had some tough goes with those concussions too. So hate to see that for both of them. Hope they're both okay as usual. First half, dumb bullshit. Charlie Kohler, fucking, what are you doing?
I mean, what really set the tone for me for this one, and a lot of people were saying it, that fourth down call, I love going for it there, but god damn, man, you're going to do the direct snap with Henry with, what was it, a long yard? Was it 2 yards? It definitely was not direct snap territory for me to take the ball out of Lamar's hands. And it just went nowhere. They were keyed all over it. I don't know. Again, that kind of set the tone, as well as the offense played, I think. That just set the tone that, like, okay, this is going to be one of those types of games. Brian, I know you were probably a little hot under the collar when that one did not work out for them.
What is direct snap territory for this offense when you have all the pieces that they have?
Goal line on 1st and 10 for me. The one time it's worked, I think that's what
second and 5 in the goal to go.
Yeah, sure. That's okay. Like, if you want to mix those in, like, I don't love it, but fine. But what
exactly?
Just like, what are we doing? Like, it's like this contest from coordinators to see who can be the craftiest, and it's all Andy Reid and his bullshit that they're cooking up in
not even crafty though. There was no craft.
I know it's not, but everybody wants to be the clever one who comes up with some red zone hanky panky that gets into the end zone and looks cool doing it. Like, how easy was it when we got down there towards the goal line to take the lead late in the game, and we just give it to 22 and he runs right through? Like, it's so easy. And how the way that this red zone offense executed for 6 or 7 weeks here, doing not that kind of nonsense, like, why?
It's ridiculous.
Why?
Ridiculous. Give me the I'm going to say this. Give me the James Prochet interception over that wildcat play.
God.
Give me that. At least I can be like, you're not as smart as you think you are. With this, it's like, do you know that you're not smart? Like, what? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shout out to James Prochet with a nice tweet after the game. Unwavering faith on whatever the fuck bullshit Jameis was saying to the broadcast. Just a true performance artist. That
Jameis said something pregame, like, play for the decals on the back of your helmet. Oh wait, we don't have none.
Yeah, he's a true performance artist at its peak. He's incredible.
Objectively, removing yourself from being a Ravens fan, this was a sick win for James.
Yeah.
It's you could see it a fucking mile away too if you are a Ravens fan. Like, this is the exact game. You get Watson and the bad vibes out of there. You're going into Cleveland.
As soon as they did the Wildcat and got stuffed, every Ravens fan had to go, I'm in danger. Oh no.
Yeah. Unfucking believable. Yeah, the Kohler thing, that too, getting cute. Stupid. Monken got bailed out.
Started on 3 of those in like 9 attempts or something now.
It was the Raiders game too, because Henry had the false start in that one, and that backed him up and screwed him over. They got bailed out on this one by Lamar, who dodged a trip and then hit Likely, and they actually converted that third down.
We've had this conversation. But these little errors tie into how many things they try to do offensively. They are a jack of all trades, which leads to you don't know that you can't buck as the quarterback tight end. The tight end doesn't know he can't buck to try to draw people off sides.
It was so obvious what he was doing too. They weren't fooled at all. Like, as soon as you started doing it,
you can do a little chicken bob, but you can't freaking buck your body, man. Yeah. Golly. And it's just those little details. They try to do so much and it bites them in the ass in those times.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And, it was just one of those games where you were going to have to be perfect offensively. I thought they were very good, but they were not perfect. Tucker's miss being mentioned here by 3MFMP. When that happens late in the game, that's another signifier. Like, all right, here we go. And that was a 50-yarder. It was makeable. Didn't even really have the leg. That was just a bad kick from JT. So yeah, I don't know. It just.
Isaiah Likely made some grown-ass man plays in this game. They did that little shovel pass shit that got sniffed out, and Lamar kind of tossed it over there anyway. Likely
shucked 2 plays after the Kohler play. It's like learn your lesson and just go back to basics. But continue. Sorry.
No, that's a great point, Brian. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like the Browns, like you said, Brian, they came out all fired up and we knew that they would because they switched from Deshaun. And I'm trying to think of the correct ways to say this. They lost a member of their media community. That's going to instill and evoke emotional, response as a fan, as a player. And Joe Thomas is going into their Ring of Honor today. It was just,
Ross Tucker said it. He's like, this is a different team right now on the broadcast. He was like, this is a completely different vibe from the Browns I've watched. And he was absolutely right. Like this team, like I said, this team should be in the playoff race right now. Like if they had competent quarterback play, which they did today, they could win games. They're talented enough. And Watson just pulled them way back.
Always had my ears perked up about this game because of that. The Browns are 1-6 and they played some terrible football, but like you just look up and down their roster and it's like there's a very respectable football team in there, right? And they brought it today. They really did. And
the team hasn't had a lot of turnover, and they have had some playoff teams in there.
Correct.
It's just the quarterback.
So, like in that sense, the loss probably isn't as bad on its face as people want to make it out to be. But when you consider all the factors that went into it, the Browns, in my opinion, played probably an A game. They didn't play an A+ game, but probably an A- game. And we played C+. Lamar played a B+ game by his standards, I'd say. So it's just I continue to talk about the margin of errors. Like we just whittled away all our margin of error of our talent gap with all the nonsense that we did today.
I just went and looked. Gardner Minshew, when he started against the Ravens last year, that was his first start of the Colts season in week 3. Jameis gets his first start of the season today. And then last year when they lost to the Browns, I believe Deshaun Watson had started maybe 2 games prior to that after injury. So that it's just, I don't know, it's just hilarious to me. They keep getting these fucking backup quarterback rotating in. They beat Burrow, they beat Allen, they beat Dak, they beat Baker. They are able to do all those things. And the Bucs game and the Cowboys game, do not say that the onside kicks recovered are, and that's another stupid thing that's happened this year. Just so many little crazy things.
Yeah.
They started 0-2. Those things all compounded. I feel great about the Ravens still. I really do. I do think they need to bring in some help at the trade deadline defensively now.
Yeah, I'm not feeling championship serious contender from them at this point, which is stupid. I mean, it's stupid because I probably would have said they were as of last week, right? But this loss, it does dredge up some of the feelings I was having earlier in the year. But there is time to get help. There's time to hopefully figure things out. And 1-6 beating 5-2, I get it. It looks terrible, but you're right. Like it's just a totally just weird circumstance where you get this new play caller, new quarterback in there. It's a talented team. I do think the Ravens are the better and more talented team, but when you're like Plaxico Burress in the club, just shooting yourself in the foot, like over and over and over and over again, like this is what happens in these types of games. And like I said, the Ravens are good for at least one of these a year. And we saw another one after that Raiders one. It's tough.
I mean, just the recurring thing is that it's you say it's once a year, but it's not once a year. Like that's what's driving me nuts.
Well, like what are the examples?
The Raiders game, like that. I mean,
well, there's 2. Yeah, I'm with you. So, yeah, no, it's stupid, but they had to last year. They had the Colts, they had the Steelers.
I know, and that's the both frustrating and inspires hope is the idea that you can just do this and still pick up the pieces and figure it out. But I
Paradox
Spencer with his rat poison thing is exactly correct. Like you can't just sit back on your laurels and be like, well, we kind of fucked around for 2 games last year, so it's okay that we fucked around for 2 games this year too, because we'll just figure it out. It's like no, they've got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of cleaning up nonsense to do, and it's just.
I agree on the surface. I tend to think they will. I don't know if we're looking at a 13-win team here, but I tend to think that they will get some of the stuff worked out. Yeah, I don't know. It does. It just
they need to bring an interior defensive lineman or 2. It is questionable to me when you only have 4 in a game against the Browns, who have always loved to run the ball. And I don't even think that was there. I don't think that was like the coach's fault because Broderick Washington couldn't go. So he was just out. And then you've got Urban, Pierce, Jones, and Matabike, and that's not enough. The pass rush juice isn't enough. I think they should make a move. If a move presents itself, I suspect it will. The Miami Dolphins have several defensive players they could probably get rid of at 2-6 now. Maybe at 3-6, you can talk yourself into something, but they lost. The Jags lose again. They have a lot of defensive pieces, veterans, cheap guys, rental pieces, all of those kinds of things. So I'd really love to see them grab another warm body inside that can give you a starting caliber player. Does it need to be as crazy as, Quinnen Williams, who I can float out there, I guess, because the Jets continue to lose. They lost the fucking Patriots.
What a disgusting outfit. Just one of my least favorite teams in a long time. And it all starts with that quarterback who just cannot shut the fuck up. They got to place him on the physically unable to shut the fuck up list. I'm so tired of that team, and I want them out of the news cycle expeditiously. It's every week, and it's got to end. This is it.
You're red in the face. That was all time. That was my favorite Jake rant of all time. I was breathless just now. I love that. I wish Taylor was here for that. I know he would have loved that too.
He would have. Yeah, that's too bad. And to get some broadcast takes from him too. This team was interesting. They had Jay Feely and Ross Tucker in there together.
Watching this broadcast team with my mom was miserable because they were just saying the most random shit. My mom was like, "What are they talking about?" I was like, please don't listen to them." I also do want to say there was a comment in here too. Collier plays really well in other areas of special teams. How is that your returner? Like, how is he back there instead of Tylan Wallace? Why is Collier not blocking?
He's making some weird decisions there. That's another thing. Let's get these. Everyone else is getting these dynamic kickoffs. Where's my dynamic kickoff? I want these kickoffs to be more dynamic for the Ravens. Chris Horton.
Jets are in prime time next week.
That is unbelievable. Like, this is, I get it. Like, I get why, like the quarterback, the new you think ideally we figure it out, but are we all really shocked that we're sitting here? And you know what? My team took a pretty bad L today, but I will dunk on this Jets team every chance I get. They're a disgrace to football. Woody Johnson, get your act together.
Broadcast. Yeah. Okay. I think there's a sentiment out there, and I struggled not to agree with it. It did feel like this broadcast crew really wanted the Browns to win this game.
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah,
they laid it on a little thick.
Yeah, from the get-go.
That's how it's always going in these dumb games too. When you're facing the backup quarterback, it's like, oh yeah, like the good vibes. Got to get the good vibes.
So
like
the false start that bumped them from the 33 to the 38 late in the game. You're like, oh no.
Ross Tucker. A little bit of a Lamar hater at times, and then Jay Feely, just one of the worst, just absolute clowns in the media. A kicker who wore 2 gloves. Fuck Jay Feely. And he posed with his daughter and her boyfriend on prom night with a gun in his hand for a photo op. That's really badass, Jay. Good stuff, man.
It was miserable. That was miserable. Miserable game. Miserable AFC North slop. That's why we love it. That's why people... Goes all the way back. That's why people talk about the AFC North the way they do. It was so physical. There were so many big hits. Delpit saying too small to Derrick Henry was nuts. But Ravens, Deshaun Elliott did clock Derrick Henry when he stumbled once, and we really liked that when that happened. So I'm sure Browns fans are enjoying that, and they have every right to do so. The craziest one was not even that. It was what corner? Newsome, maybe, when he tackled Lamar like from behind, kind of in a group of people, and it wasn't that physical. It was like an 8-yard run. Brian, I think you tweeted about it too. Yeah. Newsom's like, yeah, you see it. It was like, got an 8-yard run on first down.
They're doing like their celebration. I don't know if they're like making fun of the Ravens thing.
From his position coach over on the sideline and everything. Yeah, it was
as if he like made some sort of play. It wasn't even like a big collision.
Because it's like fake it till you make it. Like, oh, I'm bringing the juice. Yeah, we're fucking rowdy about this 8-yard stop. Yeah, but like, it's just they made
it's little
until it became true that they fucking won the game.
You're a big act like you've been there before guy, and they just weren't acting like they've been there before. I know that had you irate sitting there watching this one.
I think they just looked like losers until we played like losers. So
I would have been, don't get me wrong, I would be moonwalking all over those celebrations if the Ravens had somehow won this game. That would have been fun. But you know what? Them's the breaks, right? tough.
Them's is the breaks. If you've been listening on Twitter, we would love to have you come to YouTube. Easiest way to support us. We will be doing a live giveaway for the Derrick Henry jersey giveaway contest for the month of October during the Broncos preview on Thursday night. So if you entered, it will be announced during that time. I'll get you your Derrick Henry jersey in your choice of color and size. God willing, they have it available online at that time. That's my little disclosure there. Whatever's available online on October 31st. So on Halloween, you can get it. If you have not done so, you can simply do so by sending a DM or responding to the thread on Twitter with a screenshot that you are subscribed on YouTube and retweeting that tweet. That is how you enter. You will find out if you won Thursday during the preview. So tune in on that preview. Anything else here as we wrap up? Any other general thoughts? We didn't even really look at stats and shit like that. I can just read them. I know everyone else does too. I don't need to, but I like to. I don't know. Lamar threw for 289 yards, 23 of 38, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 101 quarterback rating. Jameis Winston went for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, 115 quarterback rating. Derrick Henry, 73 yards, 6.6 a carry at 11 carries, was not used a terrible amount in this game, which felt like because maybe the Browns sustained some long drives. Lamar Jackson, 8 for 46. Justice Hill, only 2 carries. Nick Chubb, 16 for 52. The Ravens, I don't know, it was weird. They had an okay day defending the run, but Cedric Tillman, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore, 8 for 85. Jerry Jeudy, 5 for 79. David Njoku, 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Zay Flowers, his third 100-yard game in 4 games. 7 receptions on 12 targets, 115 yards. Isaiah likely caught all 4 of his targets for 47 yards. Aguilar with that big touchdown early. That was a hell of a catch there. That's why I wasn't that mad at Aguilar when he dropped that third down ball, because that was a tough fucking catch in the end zone. That was a huge play on, I believe, third down.
Yeah, that third down catch would have been really nice, though. Yeah, that was tough. Overall, I mean, overall thoughts. Defense, I don't know what to say about them. I come away really impressed by this offense, though. Felt like when they needed a bucket, they were getting buckets right up until that last drive. I thought that last drive, even though it ended poorly, was pretty impressive up until they got down around the red area and they sort of ran out of time a little bit. I don't know. I thought they managed things well. I think at this point, they kind of know what's going on. I think they know that they're going to have to be the standard bearers here. So, and they're doing a decent job of it. Wasn't good enough this week. You got Denver next week. See what happens. You got Pat Surtain. A couple things to deal with. Denver looking good coming into that matchup. So,
no rat poison this week. Rat poison. This is going back in the cupboard or back under the fridge, because can't have rat poison 2 weeks in a row. Just not possible. So, hopefully Eric DeCosta goes out. I'm going to make my bold prediction. I think the Ravens trade for some sort of pass rushing presence, whether on outside linebacker or preferably for me, an interior defensive lineman on Tuesday. That is my bold prediction. I don't have any inkling into that, but I think the Ravens don't like to wait until deadline day and play that whole game. When they got Roquan, it was days before. When they got Marcus Peters, it was like 10 days before. I think Ngakoue was maybe a week or 2 before as well. So we're right in that territory where I think DeCosta is going to really hammer the phones and see if he can just get I think what happens is that DeCosta knows the closer you get, the more offers that are coming in, and you might be able to get another GM to just say yes if you kind of pony up to what they want early instead of getting in a bidding war or some like straw man bidding war as well. So I think they and Zach here in the comments posed a question. I want to push this to you, Brian. Do you think the Ravens scored too soon in the fourth quarter?
No, I think that's just how the hand was dealt. I think you score.
Anything else, Brian, as you've been ruminating? I always like to ask you for your last second thoughts, because I see you kind of when we get on, you're like I want to unleash my emotion a little, and then after a while you kind of postulate for it.
The term is marinating. I threw them in the plastic bag. I got the marinade in there. I put them in the crisper, and now I'm taking them out. I'm throwing them on the skillet. What do we got? Give me some hot takes.
No hot takes. I'm just ruminating on like final play. When Lamar throws that ball, I mean, unbelievable job as per usual, him creating time and space. And when he lets go of that ball, he has like numbers. It was like a 3-on-2 white jersey versus Browns jersey, and 2 of our white jerseys slipped, and it just became a non-competitive ball. Looks worse than it was. Would have been unreal. Like there's the play before that Zay wasn't able to come up with, like, that ball was in a spot where he could have made a play there. You don't expect him to, but
I was kind of wondering, and I'm curious, Spenny, for your all-22 film, what would have happened if he ran it? Like, I know he was far out, but he had been like kind of going slow. Like even when he get in space, he would do the sort of thing where he's jogging and like looking around. Like if he had just gone full, just put his whole ass into it and just ran for the end zone, like what would have happened?
Francine, do you recall what I said right before that play? What play? The Ravens' last play. She probably doesn't remember. I said, they're going to give you space. I was like, they're going to give him space, and he might have to make 2 defenders miss. He does that all the time. Like in that situation, he might have to make a second guy miss. If he just cooks, hits one hezzy, like I'm not going to tell him how to run. I have him fucking endlessly way out of shape and relative any. I don't even ever compare me to him, but we watch. I've imagined that Chiefs run where he shook Tyrann Mathieu at the goal line like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I envision that happening. Like I would even say more times than it doesn't. If he feels good, like today felt like a day where his cleats were all right. He wasn't really slipping a ton too. I think he scores. I think he scores if he takes off. I would like to see that in those situations against the Chiefs in week 1. He wants to make it, you're the best one. Lamar, you are the best one. That is where everything can be won. Go do the fucking Lamar thing.
He might have had the numbers too. Like he ran around for so long, and everyone seemed to be sequestered off to that left side.
Everybody was going north, and he was. And as soon as he pumped the one to buy that second extra time, it was probably a lot of space out to the right. The 3rd and 14 that Bateman dropped, that felt like one where he probably could have taken off and gotten a first down as well.
Yeah.
Not gonna blame him for that one, but there was a lot of room to roam. And I mean, I my hope would be, I'm fine with them losing the game because he didn't do that. Like if you want to do that as a direct thing, but in the playoffs, you want him to do that. I would like to see if it is an all or nothing game, like win or go home to make the playoffs, to win your division, or to win a playoff game. And that same situation arises, I would love for there to be basically a bullshit route concept that pulls everyone away from him. Like run crossers, but then have them all pull. Like the crossers act like they're going to cross and then both go together. You'll pull 3 defenders or some shit like that and just let Lamar run. It's the most dangerous runner on planet fucking Earth.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that on 22 because, like, man, that's an interesting test case if he pulls that ball.
I mean, when you do that by design too, and you've got a Likely, you've got an Andrews, you might have Kohler out there, and everyone knows that that's the objective, and they're prepared to block as soon as he takes off. Like,
you can get a wall. You get Linderbaum rolling.
Going there.
Get the tight ends and Linderbaum rolling.
If they were 5 yards closer, like I don't even think he would have thought about it. I think in the same situation that is, I think he would have gone for that other flag.
I think he would not like. I think the thing he can do to make himself the most mad is to try to run and fail. I think that is the thing that will piss him off himself the most because he's like, I can make the play with my arm, and as much as he knows that he can, there's gonna be that little tiny one little brain cell that says like they're gonna say you can't. They're gonna call you a running back if you don't throw it at the end of the game. If someone was open and you missed him, you're a running back. Like I would think there's one little tiny voice at the very end of a game that might get to him. So I feel like he has such a good shot to so many times.
Yeah, no, it's very.
He made the perfect throw to Isaiah Likely too. Like I don't know, like against the Chiefs, it was a perfect throw, it was a perfect catch, and you still, didn't end up winning. Fucking take off, brother.
Game of inches.
Game of inches. Really, truly. The Tucker shit, I can't even deal with that part of this game. That part I don't want to talk about the rest of the week.
Brian,
I can't deal with that part. I hate it so much.
Counselor Banks, you have the floor to defend
what exactly?
To defend.
I was just saying the Tucker miss and like the weirdness of him kicking again. I just can't I can't deal with it, and I don't really want to talk about it.
The first make kind of came out weird. I just
looked like a weird hold. Little bit of a weird snap, a little bit of a weird hold. Everything's always he has not missed right. If he misses right, I'm ecstatic from this point forward.
It's fair.
Weird. Just weird. That's what it took. Tucker being weird. Freaking stupid shit defensively, dropping interceptions. The sun in Rashad Bateman's eyes. People are going to rip on him because there's a big faction of people and Ravens fans that hate him. That's fine. Go ahead. Whatever. That was stupid. There was also another play. it was 12 men on the field, and Isaiah Likely was streaking down the fucking field, and it went right over his head.
I still don't know if there was anybody in front of him.
No, there wasn't.
I don't think there was.
There was not. He was he had nothing but green grass in front of him. That was crazy.
That was wild. The Flowers one. So those two misses. I don't know. All I hope is I just want to see Lamar go get braided. Go get the most amazing design in your hair ever.
Glad you said that.
I'm gonna say this is gonna sound so stupid too. He looked a little puffy, like he didn't sleep so good, or maybe had a little allergies going. Just didn't look. He played fine. He played a good game. He just didn't look right. I don't think
I don't know that particular haircut has yielded positive results on the football field.
When he gets picked out before he gets braided.
Yeah. I cannot remember well enough to support any of this, but I feel like that look has always ended in frustrated Lamar. Like his helmet comes off.
All I know is that Lamar with the crosses in his hair was 4-0. That's all I know. Let's get braided up.
The braids, man, trip down memory lane when he was talking about. I tweeted that clip of him talking about his Harry Potter costume 5 years ago. He had the braids going in that one. He looked good.
We got Matt with the perfect comment here. All the fuck shit, just get it out.
Totally agree. Like, we don't even need to do an hour long podcast. We can just say that and get out.
Football's stupid. The pigskins. I'm calling them pigskins. My mom done that. I'm rocking with that hard. I think that's a perfect name. The pigskins win on a Hail Mary on a tip ball. I saw an angle on Twitter. Tyreek Stevenson, the Bears corner, was
just watching it.
Tyreek Stevenson was like waving bye to the crowd and stuff, runs over, tips the ball up. Noah Brown catches it. That was a chippy game too. That was a
a fun game. I love them giving the offensive lineman the ball. God, that was funny. What a funny game.
Laurent says his hair was out last week. I thought his hair was out on the bottom, but I thought he still had the design on top at least.
I think he might have
I think he still had the top braided.
He might have had it tied up or something because I'm pretty sure he had the.
I think the bottom was let out, but I don't think he was fully let out.
Yeah,
I don't know. Get my guy. Lamar's gonna get the braids nice. Nobody has cooler braids than Lamar. I've never seen cooler braids in my life. He has the sickest. It was out. Okay, Laurent says it was out. All right. Yeah. So I don't know. Get Lamar braided up. I just love it. I think he has the coolest braids on earth. I fucking love when he gets that crazy.
I like the Superman cut where he like fades it up and he's kind of got the flat top going on. Maybe go back to that.
Yeah. Thoughts on adding a receiver? Sure. Add whatever, man. Whatever is right player, right price. Whatever that third round pick gets you, nab it up, gobble it up. Keep the diamond grills. Yeah. No, I disagree. Prime time only. Those are prime time. I don't know if those are fronts or grills, but keep the diamonds for prime time only. Those are special.
Full top diamond in the bottom row with gold.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all the fuck shit, I think, in the words of whoever said Matt here in the comments. I think that's all the fuck shit. Did we miss anything?
I think we're good.
I think that was everything, guys. 58 minutes in. If you're on Twitter, please come to YouTube. We would love to have you on YouTube.
That we would. And when you're there, please subscribe. Please comment on all our videos. Get the algorithm pumping up for us. Spread us by word of mouth. Tell a friend about the Exit 52 podcast. Follow us on social media at Exit 52 podcast on X and on Instagram. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Ryan is at Barstool Banks. Spenny is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. You can find Taylor at TaylorsMy10. Eric at EDITTI22. Thank you, as always, to Jimmy's Famous Seafood, all our great sponsors. Thank you guys for listening. Annoying, dumb, stupid, bad loss. Flush it, burn the tape, move on. Talk to you guys for the Denver game.
See ya.
Arrivederci.